Hey guys, and welcome back to the Layah Heilpern show powered by Icon Plus. So a quick news announcement for you as always. Icon is kicking off 2021 with the launch of DeFi projects, OMM Finance, Balanced DAO, IconFi, and its new governance system, CPS, all developed to financially support contributions to the ecosystem. So always some great news coming out of Icon there. I want to say thank you to my sponsors, BlockFi. I use them to earn up to 8.6% interest on my USDC. I think that's insane. I don't think that kind of resonates when I say it. That's 8.6% interest, especially when we're seeing negative interest rates across Europe. I think we saw 0.01% from the Bank of England, so that's pretty crazy. And then you can also get, I think it's $250 depending on how much you deposit with them. So I've left the link everywhere. Should be in the bio, the comments, wherever it should be. And a final shout out to CoinFlip. So they are doing some incredible work across the states to push Bitcoin mass adoption. They now have 1,200 Bitcoin ATMs. So giving everyday people access to Bitcoin. I have a discount code if you want. You can get 10% off your transaction. So I'll leave that somewhere in the comments. So today we have a really cool guest, somebody who I really admire, somebody who I've become quite friendly with recently, think she's brilliant, and I just want to learn more about her. So let's welcome Bitcoin Liz. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on, and thanks for the kind words. I've been following you as well, and I've seen your guests on the show, so I feel like super honored that you chose to get me on the show. It's great to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you because I feel like we've just met this year. We've both sort of just like popped up out of nowhere. Well, I guess it sort of seems that way for everyone else, but you know, we only just met this year, and I kind of want to know a lot more about you. Who is Bitcoin Liz? What is Bitcoin Liz? So before we talk crypto, I want to know, how would you sort of define yourself? Tell us something about who you are.
Okay, yeah, define. I think this is always a tricky question, but I guess a part of what defines who I am is, of course, my background. So I'm born and raised in Sweden to Estonian parents, and I grew up with two native language at home, quite modest home, and yeah, my parents were immigrants, so they kind of had to build up a new life here. They were really young when they moved here, and I guess the Estonian mindset has been with me for ever since in the beginning. I've never really could place myself in one place. I'm not either Swedish or Estonian. It's kind of having the both, which I think is cool. And yeah, we're talking about the Estonian mindset. I think we're all hustlers.
Yeah, what is that?
Yeah, because Estonia got independent from the USSR, the Soviet Union, in 1991. And, you know, we built up the country from scratch, basically. And everyone in Estonia would say we don't take anything for granted. We know that we need to work hard to become successful and to make a living. And I think that is something that has been with me ever since the beginning and really defines who I am, because Sweden was a welfare state long before Estonia got independent. And I don't think the same mindset exists in the young people in Sweden in general today. So yeah, we grew up here in Stockholm in the suburbs, and I went to Estonian school here in Sweden, and it's really been a part of everything. And another thing, fun fact, I guess that shows also the Estonian way of thinking. I got my first Robert Kiyosaki book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, from my dad when I was 11 years old, and he was like, "Read this. You need to know this. You need to understand this, because then you will become rich in the future. You know how to make passive income." I didn't even know what passive income was then, and how to protect your wealth from sharks and all that. Of course, I didn't understand everything in the book by then, but it kind of like saw a seed in me from early on, which has been with me for ever since then. But yeah, to define myself, I would say I'm a kind person. I'm really caring.
It's important.
That I have around me. I show a lot of caring and take care of everyone around me. I'm really active. I'm almost like restless. I need to have something to do all the time. I love to have many things ongoing all the time. That's when I perform the best. That's when I feel the best. I'm also curious. Every time I visit a new country, I want to know about the culture, the history. I'm not the one who goes to like history museums or like that. I'm out in the streets exploring and want to know everything about the place I'm visiting, and learn as much as possible about the place. yeah,
I think you answered that like the best way I've ever heard somebody answer a description about themselves. Yeah, you went into detail. So I think that's really interesting what you said about the Estonian mindset. I think I've spent some time in Eastern Europe and I really like that. I really like, there is a mindset. It's kind of like a hard work. It's quite unemotional, isn't it, as well, given like the history, like you said. And it's kind of just like, no matter how cold it gets, no matter how hard it gets, we push through, you know? I quite like that. But you're based in Sweden. So this is insane because you are literally one of, I know there's probably 3 other countries on this planet, but you are living in a country that has not had a lockdown. This is insane. So we need to get into this because I'm based in the UK. It is horrendous here. You know, Christmas was cancelled. Thank you, Boris Johnson. What else was cancelled? New Year's Eve is cancelled. Everything is cancelled. Gyms are shut. It's quite unbelievable. I then fled and went to Romania, where it's equally as nuts there. Nearly got fined for wearing a mask outside, for not wearing a mask outside, sorry. But you're living your best life off in Sweden where there's no lockdown. Tell us, how's it been?
Yeah, well, it's hard to imagine how it would be with the lockdown, I have to say. So I'm extremely grateful that we have had quite a normal life. The worst thing here was when the gyms were closed for 2 weeks. I couldn't go there. But other than that, yeah, it's been very, very normal. But again, it's hard to know if it's the right way or not, because in the summer, for example, I don't know what happens to Swedish people, but when summer comes, everyone starts partying, you know, hanging out, which is like normal, of course.
Yeah.
But I do also believe that may cause the virus to spread more to elderly. We didn't take as much care of elderly people that I believe we would have or should have done. But of course, again, I'm super, super happy for the freedom, and actually like that the government puts it in our hands. It's our choice, like what we do, and take responsibility together, and not that the government takes the decision for us. So in that way, I'm really happy the way it is, because I cannot imagine how tough it must be with a lockdown, especially like mentioning that I'm restless. I need to have something to do all the time. It's been, well, relatively normal.
But what's the mentality though? Because like the mentality here, for example, and actually globally, is very much we should, you know, lock down even harder. You know, we should wear masks all the time. It's really intense. So do Swedish people not sort of share that mentality? Are people not putting pressure on your government, particularly journalists? Are they not putting pressure on your government at all?
Yeah, now they are putting more pressure because, well, it looks like we are not doing that well comparing to neighbor countries. However, one thing that I see, like in general among the general public, is that we are very aware of mental health issues, and we believe that we will stop a lot of this happening in the future. So that is something that we always lean back on, that no matter what, we at least stop this. We made sure that people can hang out with each other and not put ourselves in mental health issues, which is it's widely spoken about in Sweden. It's not a taboo topic to discuss, and I believe it is like that. It's having a lockdown, not being able to socialize, it affects you a lot, and so there we are all, I think, agreeing here that we are doing the right thing. But then of course the end result, it's difficult to say. I would say that now people are maybe putting more pressure on the government, and now the government is telling you that we're doing this together. We have a common responsibility to make the best out of the situation.
Do you think you'll lock down? Do you think Sweden will sort of fall to global pressure and lock down?
Sorry, if they
like, do you think they'll fall to like the global pressure and eventually lock down in 2021, or do you think they would have done it by now?
I think they would have done it by now, and it's like too late to back down. I think it would be weird to do it now. So I don't believe in it. Now we got more like strict restrictions during Christmas and New Year's Eve, that we are not allowed to be more than 8 people in the same room and like that. But it's just recommendations. You know, it's not that you will get fined or anything for it. So still we have the choice to make, and I respect that. I really do.
I respect that. I respect the fact that you have the choice. You know, I respect the recommendation, and then I respect the freedom to do as you wish with the recommendation. But let's chat about crypto. I want to know, how did you get into crypto? Was it through Ivan, or was it after him, or did you get him in? Like, what happened?
Yeah, so shortly I got in like a couple of months before I met Ivan, but I didn't know that much about it. So long story short, I was studying business administration at university, and I was taking, well, business administration is a like really broad program. You have finance, marketing, organization, and all that. But in my finance class, we talked a lot about how the stock markets work, and we were touching a little bit upon that there are a thing like digital currencies. And then I remember a couple of guys in my class, they were bragging how they made tons of money on Bitcoin. And I was like, okay,
Really?
that caught my attention. So I started to, Google more about it. What is this? And I don't know, for me right away, I was like, okay, this is how future money will look like when I read about it. And that's when I invested put money in Bitcoin the first time. But honestly, I didn't do that much research before I made my first investment. But
what year?
Again,
Come on, you want to tell us what year was this?
Yeah, so this was in November 2017, my first. But it wasn't a lot of money that I invested. I mean, I was a student and I didn't have that much savings or anything. But I was already a little bit invested in stocks, and this was just a natural thing to put money in as well. But so that then I kind of followed a little bit, but I was definitely not following any influencers on YouTube or anything about it, just a little bit maybe. And then I met Ivan in April 2018. It was through my thesis partner. I was writing my thesis then, and she knew Ivan. She was following him on YouTube, and she was just like, we saw him in a co-working space because we were working there or studying there. And she went to talk to him, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go say hi to this guy. I don't know who he is. And then we spoke a little bit about crypto, and he told that he's involved in that. And I think we asked like, okay, where do you see crypto going? And I said my opinion that I believe that for mass adoption, we need Facebook come up with their own currency or something like that, which happened as well.
They did. Bit of a failure.
Yeah.
We can talk about that.
And so I would say that I was involved before, but Ivan really got me involved when I met him, because he got me in on crypto conferences, and I started to see that this is a real industry and people are building so many cool projects. And so that this was during the ICO bubble, basically when me and Ivan met and started to go to crypto conferences. So
that's amazing.
I was it was actually super cool. So I would definitely not be that heavily into crypto as I am now without Ivan. No way.
That's cute. I like it. So let's talk about Bitcoin for a second then. So you put a little bit in back in November 2017, not enough to sort of be living on a beach and be done with everyone. Yeah. But talk to me about Bitcoin, because I know you're super bullish on Bitcoin. It's Bitcoin Liz, it's not altcoin Liz. Liz Bitcoin. So tell me, what is it about Bitcoin that just really makes you think, yes, this is the future? Why Bitcoin? Why not a different currency?
So I think when I first read about it, the thing that grabbed me really was that it's there's no central authority, third party involved between there. So it's maybe one of the most basic things about it. Because at that time I was angry with the banks, because I remember I opened my first savings account, and in the beginning I earned interest on the money I stored there. But then in Sweden we got negative interest rates, and I had to pay them for storing my money. So already there I was
unbelievable.
Yes, it's unbelievable. I was like, I'm having my money in their bank, I'm paying them, but they can use that money to even earn even more interest. So already there I was angry with the bank. And
so how long were negative interest rates going on across Europe? Because I know that they were going on. I mentioned it at the beginning of the show, but we've not really seen that in the UK, and I think the Bank of England have ruled it out. But how long have you guys had negative interest rates, and what are people doing to circumvent that?
So we have had it ever since I got my first bank account, basically 1 year after. So I think it's like 8 years. It has to be. And I mean, people don't really think about it as an issue anymore. It's normal now. People, I mean, I understand why you would do it to stimulate the economy, people to spend, but it's been 8 years.
But I look at that as blackmail though. But okay, can I just say, I always see that as blackmail, because it's kind of like you have to spend your money, otherwise we'll spend it. It's like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
Know,
Otherwise,
it's crazy. It's crazy.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, no, I think it's insane. But I want to look at 2020 because 2020 has been the most crazy year. So what would you say some of the most interesting and the most significant things are that have happened in crypto this year?
yeah, so a lot has happened. Yeah, I guess we need to start with the Bitcoin halving. That caught a lot of, I would say, mainstream attention. I remember when it's in the spring, I was still working at my old job, which is like traditional company, not tech savvy people, and they were like, "Oh, I heard about this Bitcoin halving thing," and I was like, "Oh, how?" So of course, it gave Bitcoin a lot of attention, and and it was an important event, especially for the Bitcoin price now, I guess. And
Do
that
you
we
think
are
it's
following.
priced in though? Just going to jump in. Do you think it's priced in? Like, do you think that's what we're seeing now as a result of the halving?
I don't know. It's so hard to say. I honestly, I think no. I don't think it's completely priced
I
in.
don't think so either.
I don't know. I don't. Yeah, it's difficult to say. Yeah, I'll leave it that. I don't think it's completely priced in. But of course, you remember the excitement before the halving, after halving. So that was definitely something I remember. And then, of course, the DeFi summer with all the projects. And also, I mean, that was really when we saw true innovation, because I believe that DeFi is challenging traditional financial services. It's possible that there are real projects, and of course, just the institutional money that has run into Bitcoin. It's crazy. Now we are really put on the map. I mean, MicroStrategy, we have, PayPal took us, and I mean, PayPal
Square
CEO,
as well.
Square, everything. So we have like really significant people speaking up for us, and that makes, we can't be ignored anymore due to that. It's really, really important, and that part.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I would definitely say that 2020 has to be I would go as far to say as it's been the most powerful year for the industry, for so many different reasons. Okay, we can look at DeFi as like your sort of like initial example, because that inherently just challenges the traditional system, right? I think it puts people in the financial map. People can borrow money, do what they need, money that they obviously previously never have access to. But the halving was insane. I mean, that was just like an incredible, it's always an amazing marketing opportunity for Bitcoin. The printing of money that we've seen, I always found like that just kind of was insane, because I'm always obviously trying to get more people into crypto. I'm trying to sort of like explain to them why Bitcoin is going to be so innovative, it's going to be so revolutionary. And it's so hard sometimes to sort of explain that to them, especially when we talk about countries like Venezuela, which see like hyperinflation, and we don't really see that kind of inflation in the West. But then you can sort of give them this sort of case study of 2020 and just sort of be like, look how much money is being printed. Like, choose something which is a deflationary asset, something which has, deflationary sort of strategies built in, the halving, all this stuff. I just think it's been amazing. And then, because you and I were chatting yesterday, and we were also talking about how important people like PayPal are, and MicroStrategy and all this stuff, because I just think that, people like Jack Dorsey, people like Michael Saylor, they don't put millions into, or billions, I can't remember how much it was at this point, but they don't put that much money in to sort of sell at like even 10 grand higher. I don't believe it. I don't believe they're not. And there was also that rapper. What was his name? It begins with L. Is it Lock? Oh gosh, I'm really not good. It's not my thing, that. But what was his name? If anyone remembers his name, write it in the comments. It was Lock or Loke. Oh, I don't know. But he put a lot in, and so many different celebrities as well have put a lot in this year. And I think that's also just like another incredible, I guess, sort of marketing opportunity for Bitcoin. But in terms of the pandemic, how do you think that has affected Bitcoin?
So in general, I think it has had a good effect, because it kind of made people rethink about how, I believe at least, like how the monetary system works. Just with the stimulus in the US, you kind of make think that, okay, how does it actually work? That you can just print endless amount of money and devalue your own, devaluing the currency. I would be frustrated if I would be in the US and see that kind of stimulus being printed. But again, also people got the stimulus checks and they had more money to invest, so they started to look, okay, what should I do with my money? And
But even that got me. Like, because so it's no secret that that I don't fall on like the left of like the political and economic and like fiscal system. I think that's no secret if you follow me. So like when the government are handing out money and then people put it into Bitcoin, I'm in like two minds about that.
Yeah,
So I'm like, that's great that you put it into Bitcoin. That's cool. But like, don't you need the money? Isn't that why the government gave it to you? Like,
exactly.
you need it to buy like groceries and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I agree.
But your friends and your family, okay? So when you talk about what you do, when you talk about Bitcoin, number one, how into it are they? Do they think you're crazy? If you manage to convince anybody to buy any Bitcoin, and how do you describe it to them? Like, what do you say? And, you know, you're sitting around the dinner table or whatever, and you're sort of just like, oh my God, Bitcoin reached new highs. Like, what do they think?
Yes, it's very mixed feelings. I think my older like grandmothers and grandfathers, they have a difficult time to understand it, but they're kind of like, okay, I know you are smart, so yeah, I trust that you're doing the right thing.
That's nice.
But one of my grandma, she really understands, because one of the advantages of living in Estonia is that it's super digitalized. I mean, you can't do anything by going to a physical place. Everything is online. So even my grandma, she understands that everything is online, and yeah, that's where it is, and that's how the future is going to look like. So it makes it easier for them to understand that money is going to be digital as well. And even Estonia was one of the first countries to start looking at the like own digital currency. I think they planned it in the beginning with Vitalik even, but then then ETH took off and everything, so it was put on a hold. So I think for them it's still quite natural, but they have a hard time understanding, like, okay, but so what actually gives it value? What's the value proposition and that part? But so usually when I just explain that, so we own, you know, the network. There's no one who can tamper with it, and it's secure. It's backed by blockchain technology, all that. And so I don't get, they don't think I'm crazy. They just think it's super cool that she has something that she is interested in. And and I remember when I was working at my previous job, as I mentioned, which was a traditional corporation, people were actually quite interested. They were like, okay, she knows something that can be used in the future. So I instantly got interesting to people because of that. They asked me quite a lot. And I remember even one of my closest colleagues who I worked with closely, she eventually invested in Bitcoin because her brother was involved as well. But we talked about it like all the time. And she understands, like, you know, people have the pre-assumptions that it's for criminals and it's only criminals involved there. But when they see that, okay, I'm in there and I'm actually like doing a lot of research about it.
Criminal.
Exactly. So then it created a lot more trust for them as well. And I managed to get at least one involved in Bitcoin. Yeah.
I think that's so funny what you said about your grandma there, because my grandpa, he lives in the north of England. So I went up to see him just before the pandemic had kicked in, just to help stock his fridge and all that, bless him. And he literally thinks I work in something really criminal. I'm not being funny. He turned around to me and said, does your father know what you do? I was like, what do you mean? Like he literally, he can't even understand Facebook, bless him. He sort of thinks like, so he was looking for like a grocery store nearby or something, and you can sort of go on groups on Facebook and ask. So my mum had said, you know, go on Facebook and ask. And my grandpa was like, oh, do we call Facebook? You know, like yellow pages? Yeah. So there's kind of no hope, bless him. But, you know, my mum is Bitcoin crazy.
Yeah.
Like, she's crazy. Like every day. So I've got her on BlockFi, and every day she's like, yeah, like let's look at my portfolio. And I'm like, Mum, I was like, you need to chill. Like you just need to calm down. And then she's like, tell me when to sell. And I'm like, no, we don't sell. Okay, we don't sell. We hold.
Yeah.
And then my brother as well. He didn't buy. I told him to buy at 10. Well, I told him to buy earlier, but we were having a serious discussion at 10 because my mum had got in at 10K. And a bit earlier, but she got in properly at 10K. And I told my brother to get in. And he was just like, no, I'll buy below. And I'm like, I don't think it's going below. You know how long it spent at 8K, how long it spent at 9K. And then it did go above 10K, then it went down again. But there was that point when we sort of knew, but nobody made the joke anymore. Nobody was like, we're not going to see it above 10K. Everybody knew we weren't seeing it below 10K again. So he didn't buy, and now he's like thinking to buy at 26. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, but at least you got, I mean, that's really cool to hear. And it's so fun to hear that your mom is like all in. It's nice.
She's too much. Literally, she absolutely stresses me out constantly. She's like, oh, I get message. I don't get good morning, my dear loving daughter. I get 28.1.
Oh,
I'm like, Mom, you need to stop. But you're also really big on Ethereum. So I kind of want to understand what it is about Ethereum. Why do you like it? There are a lot of concerns. There are a lot of concerns that it's a lot of Ether were pre-mined, and that it's not as decentralized or whatever. Or what are your thoughts on Ethereum? Why are you so bullish on it?
So I think you can't really compare Ethereum to Bitcoin. I think they serve different purposes. So Bitcoin is a great store of value, I would say, while Ethereum it provides something different. I would say now with DeFi and all the derivatives, everything that ETH is providing, I think that is huge for it. And yeah, I really don't think you can compare to Bitcoin in the same way. Just how big the community is and how they are building and what it enables for the blockchain industry as a whole, I think that is super important. And as well now, especially when we have a lot of attention on the Ripple lawsuit, actually SEC has said that Ethereum is not a security, which kind of gives it makes Ethereum a good choice, because that the SEC has at least said that it's not a security. You won't have that issue with Ethereum. But other than that, I don't know. I just think it provides a lot of value for the crypto community, and especially
it's the king of the alts, eh?
Yeah, no, but especially looking at the derivatives market, it's huge. It's really, really big, and yeah, that's what comes with ETH.
Yeah, I think so the CEO of Altcoin Bars, I always say this, I have to cite him. He told me he sort of break it down in the clearest way to kind of understand. And he was like, Bitcoin is gold 2.0, Ethereum is digital Amazon. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I can work with that. I like that. That makes a lot of sense. So, they're different and they're not comparable. And, Bitcoin is in a league of its own way. And Ethereum is in a league of its own way, doing whatever it does with smart contracts, programmable money, and so on, decentralized apps and all that stuff. I think it's pretty cool. But what other projects have you got your eyes on for 2021? Any other alts which you're interested in and you want to share with us?
Yeah, so I thought about that a lot. I'm not that into alts. I mean, I follow a lot of projects just to see what is out there. Recently, what I got my eyes on is Polkadot. I think what they're doing is great, and they have performed really well now recently as well. So that is definitely something that I will keep an eye on in 2021 as well, because it's a great ecosystem, and just the interoperability they are providing between it's important for, and I think they're doing great. And now I think they're like, what are they, top 6, top 7, something like that.
I think something like that. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, something like top 6 or something. But I have an interesting question I really want to talk to you about, because people must come to you all the time and ask you, can you talk about my project, whether it be on YouTube or whether it be on Twitter or wherever it is. So there are almost so many new projects. We said like DeFi was huge in the summer. It was like summer DeFi. So how do you spot a scam? So what are your best ways for working out whether something is, number one, a scam, and number two, whether something is just a really crappy project and you don't like the fundamentals, or you don't like the marketing behind it, or whatever it is, you don't really sort of believe in it. So how do you sort of spot that and then decide whether or not to talk about it?
So we can start with the scam part. I think it has become much more difficult to spot a scam, because they're getting better and better. But I think what you need to look like at is what they are offering. If they are offering like guaranteed returns on investment, it's probably not true, because you can't guarantee things like that. And we have seen many projects that are guaranteeing like, okay, at least this percentage of return on investment. No, it doesn't exist in the real world. So yeah, if it does seem too good to be true, it probably is. I think also looking at the team, if they're open with the team working with them, it's also a good sign. I know many projects in crypto also, they want to be anonymous and all that, but I believe if it's, for me at least, it's important to know that there are real people and who they are working behind the team, the project. And of course, I mean, I think what makes the scam successful is, of course, the human psychology, because we do believe that it might be something really good. That's how BitConnect and OneCoin got so big. And of talking about OneCoin, their strategy was to target people who had no clue about crypto. And the crazy thing is that I even had an old lady at my previous job. She had invested in OneCoin.
No.
Yes. I was.
What did they
so
say?
shocked. No, she was contacted by like her some relative and said like, okay, you will get return on investment. You just need to put this in, and and she said like, oh, but I don't really know what it was. I just said that I will get more money for this, and I'm like, it's so sad to see that it works. And I even had one relative who had invested in OneCoin. So OneCoin was like really crazy, but that really showed how naive people are. And they are really believing, which is sad. But again, I think I'm hoping that as big of a scam as OneCoin was and BitConnect, we won't see again, because I believe we have become smarter. But again, if they are really promising like guaranteed returns, it's probably that's a big warning sign. But other than that, answering what projects I would work on and not, I think as long as, I'm looking at the use case. If I see that this, maybe it's not the best product, but if it can bring more adoption, it can be simple, I don't know, merch, Bitcoin merch. I mean, somehow people still love it. I am into that because I love clothes. I'm open to show those things. And I think it's also a way to spread awareness about crypto.
I mean, at least you have a product, right? I think that's kind of like the thing which I've kind of landed on through this whole DeFi thing is like, do they have a product? Because there's so much conversation and there's so much talk and there's so much like technical language, which really kind of like coats an absence of anything in the middle, right? Like, what is their product? There's no product. There's no use case. They don't do anything. And then people are just buying into something, and that is something which is like becomes such an issue for me. I have, it doesn't matter who, but I saw a company came and sort of said, will you work with us? And I was just reading through their white paper and their website, and I'm just there like, this is just a lot of language. Where's your product? And I didn't see the product, and I sent it to the people at Altcoin Buzz as well, because I think they're great, and they read it through and they're like, Layah, no, that's not a good one. And I was like, I didn't think it was, there's no product. Another thing I'll say as well, in terms of sort of like new people getting into the space, which I obviously want to ask you about, I totally agree with you when it comes to anonymous characters. So like, of course, I'm absolutely pro anonymity, pro privacy, each to their own, do what you want, freedom, liberation, you get the point. But as an individual on this side, somebody who's potentially an investor or a trader or whatever, I and you guys, I guess, need to sort of think, okay, how much do I want to invest in a project which has an anonymous founder, simply because they can't be held accountable for their actions? So there's nothing necessarily inherently wrong with anonymity. It's just they can't be held accountable. And I think that's what people need to consider, What would you say some of the main things are people should consider before getting in?
So it depends on what is important for you. For me, example, as I mentioned, I would like to see the people behind it, because that is a way that's the thing that is important to me, just because that's the way I decide if I believe it in or not. But of course, then again, I think you need to think what are the what are the things that are going to matter in the future? Like you have to think about, is this going to be an important thing in a couple of years, in a couple of months, to really see the potential in it. And if you don't understand what their vision and what the goal is of the project, then probably it's not a good thing to invest in, because I think it's important that you understand the product or the service that they have. Some can be super complicated, as you said. They're not even having a product, so I think it's important that you understand it, because that makes you better at evaluating if it's a good product or not. There's a lot of people just writing a lot of words, as you said, without having a true meaning. It just sounds good, but it's not really clear what they're actually providing.
I wondered if you had any thoughts on Ripple, the SEC. You know, have you been following it at all?
I have been following a little bit, but honestly, not I mean that much. I think it will have a huge impact on us, of course. But again, I wasn't that into Ripple before. I didn't think they were a great project or anything like that. I didn't have anything invested in them. But I think this shows as well that the SEC is having an eye on us, and that there might be coming more things like this. And that's also why, as I, chat yesterday, I'm hoping for an ETF. I think the SEC needs to, just because we have so much institutional money, we're not talking about just us, the crypto community, having their money. Now it's actually billions of institutions who have the money. They have a responsibility to make sure that it is a secure and regulated in a good way market. That's their responsibility. So I think they won't get away with it, and we might see more cases like this come up, of course.
Yeah, I think it's kind of strange. The whole thing is just odd, in my opinion. Like, it makes sense, yes, but I was been talking to some people and doing some research, and I think from what I've read and what I understand, I think Brad Garlinghouse sort of sold, I think, more than half of his XRP like over a year ago, like this time last year, which is just odd, in my opinion. Like these lawsuits or whatever, like they don't come out of nowhere. I just find like the timing kind of strange. But what do we know? What do you think 2021 is going to look like then? We spoke yesterday, so we were chatting a bit about stablecoins, CBDCs, so NFTs. What is that going to look like in 2021?
So first of all, I think more and more people will get involved in crypto, especially now institutions joining, and we are put on the map. We had, as we mentioned, MicroStrategy, Square, Fidelity, BlackRock, and we had even a new institution today, I think, joining. So it's almost one every day.
Maybe I think it was Mass Mutual was the other week.
Mass Mutual. And I think today was something like green, something. I'm not sure, but we see this almost every day, so it's not even that significant anymore. But that means that more and more people will like, okay, what is this actually that these institutions are putting their money in? So I definitely think a larger group of people will be part of this community. And again, I think Bitcoin will lead in 2021, and it will reach new all-time highs for sure. I'm sure of that. And NFTs might come back more. Now we kind of have cooled off there. If we really can find use case for them, that I mean, not even now the use case is good, but I think it takes a little bit time to evolve it and put it in action in real life as well. As we chatted yesterday, you can actually use it in retail and for products to verify the authenticity of it. And then again, I believe it will be big in gaming and collectibles in Asia. Like specifically, people love collectibles there. It can be whatever. So I believe NFTs can come back. And we don't know what's coming next. There will definitely be something completely new.
It will be exciting for sure. Yeah. That's all we know. But I mean, I definitely agree with you. I think NFTs. I mean, I said this to you yesterday. I've said this to everybody before. I always say this. I'm just a broken record at this point, but I mean it wholeheartedly. The whole world is going digital. Like dating is digital, eating is digital, working is digital. Everything is digital. It's just inevitable that everything else will go digital. And, you know, we were talking about like designer handbags, you know, Rolex watches or whatever it is. Of course, you know, verifying them, verifying their authenticity will be digital. And, you know, I think blockchain technology will be a part of that. Like we were saying, whether it's as an NFT or not, who knows? But just finally, what are your final thoughts to just about crypto in general, to the crypto community? Just speak directly to them from the heart, you know?
Okay, well, first of all, I love the crypto community. I'm so happy to be part of it. And I do believe that we are early on, very early on, and we will get rewarded for it in the future. So even though someday it might feel like, am I doing the right thing? You know, question yourself, is this a crazy industry actually? Like, is this all made up? You know, sometimes I get at least those thoughts, but I want to say, like, yeah, it's normal that we get those thoughts, but just bear out. I mean, this community is growing and it's really, really great. There are real projects being built, and I do believe that we will see like more worldwide adoption, and we will really get rewarded for it in the future. And I think when we think about blockchain technology as a whole, I think it will be a part of many businesses. It is today as well. One of the things with Estonia, if we can turn back to that, Estonia is using blockchain in healthcare. 90% of all medical data is stored with the blockchain technology. So I think we will see a lot more solutions like that. The businesses are actually going to use it to protect data and to verify products where they come from in supply chain. And that would also, of course, mean that there will be more jobs made in blockchain industry. It will create more jobs, and more people will enter just because they see it as a job opportunity, career opportunity as well. And in general, I think we will mature really quickly, and it will be just another industry that we have now, a niche industry probably in tech, but it will be a natural part of many businesses because there are really, really good use cases for it. And it would be, stupid for businesses not to take advantage of that. And and as mentioned before, I think we will probably see more regulations as well. From SEC has to take their responsibility or their role and make sure that it is a secured market.
Yeah, I'm absolutely with you. I think regulation is coming. I don't know whether we'll like it or not. I don't know whether it'll stifle innovation. I imagine regulation and the likes of CBDCs will absolutely sort of be some kind of war with the community and like the initial sort of like ethos and I guess goal for the community. But yeah, we'll have to see how it goes. I think I can't remember what you said, but it sort of made me think of the idea that like I feel, you know, investors and people like you and I, you know, we're sort of like at the end of the day gambling not just our money but like our careers on the success of the success of Bitcoin, isn't it? Because if Bitcoin fails, then like they say everything else fails. But hey ho, we believe in it. So where can people find you?
So you can find me on Twitter, Liz Bitcoin or Bitcoin Liz, and YouTube as well, same, Bitcoin Liz. And Instagram, if you want to, that's more private and connected to our puppy. But yeah, there is Lisette Kult, which is my full name.
There you go. Liz, thank you so much for coming on. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to tune in next Thursday. It'll be back to normal time. So it will be 12 EST, which is 5 GMT. If you're in Europe, that's 6 ES. No, ET. That's it. Too many time zones. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.